But, when you start, and listen, I mean, I could lie to you and say everything I've done has been great, but we both know that's not the case. I think
we all learn and grow, right? I mean, hopefully you're growing. I mean, it's okay to make. Welcome back to Emphasis Tech Talks, a podcast for business leaders navigating technical challenges to find a competitive advantage and elevate your bottom line. I'm your host, David Clausen, and our guest today is Steve Sheinkopf from Yale Appliances. Steve has 37 years experience at Yale Appliances, and he's going to share with us today about leveraging your data to improve your customer experience. We have Steve Sheinkopf with us today with Yale Appliances. Steve, I know you've got a lot of experience, 37 years there with Yale Appliance, family organization. Obviously you've been through a lot of the changes in technology and so forth. Tell me, I was just really curious from your perspective with all that history, what do you think has been the biggest plus to your business that's come about because of technology?
That's a great question. Again, I've been here before there was internet. We were writing orders on paper. I think it's just, I remember in 1990 when, I went on vacation, came back, and I saw this thing, the fax machine. And I was like, you're telling me I could fax something here and someone in China can get it in real time? They're like, yeah. I go, this is where it ends for technology. This is how far we go as a civilization. I just can't imagine anything. I just can't imagine anything more advanced than sending a document here and having it halfway across the world at the same time. And today, I mean, I don't even know where our fax machine is. I didn't know where it was 10 years ago. So to give you an idea, it's given us the ability to communicate in real time, not just with our customers, but with, again, I'm going back to the 80s here, but with everybody. So we get real time information to make real time decisions. And that's just the cusp of it, obviously. And then there's dangers to that because someone can hack into your system. And, we talk about technology, we talk about defending that technology as well. And that's some of where the money is being spent now as well. So, but it's just huge from where we were, a paper-based, to where we now are. I mean, have you seen a paycheck lately? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Right. Well, we were talking the other day. I don't remember the last time I wrote a check. Right. So it's impacted all parts of our lives. But yeah, I think you bring out a great point. So I'm glad that you mentioned it's more than just keeping in touch with your customers. I mean, obviously that's a big thing for anyone in retail, having that feedback and being able to work directly with their customers and interact with them. But it's more than that. In your case, making sure your supply chain's in place, making sure you have product available, those sorts of things. So you were also sharing with me earlier that you've recently built out a large warehouse and, some of the technical advantages that you're seeing with that. Can you share with us a little bit more about that?
Well, it was a tough transaction because warehousing has gone up 3x. If you were to put $1 in warehousing 10 years ago, it'd be worth 3 now. So, multiply that out. And the problem is we talk about supply chain when you couldn't get product and then manufacturers ship arbitrarily, and now you need tons of product and you got to need a place to put it. But really what's interesting about warehousing, and we talked about just the basics of technology. If we go back to the 90s where you find a computer system and then you build onto it and build onto it and build onto it, where you go from POS to actual wireless scanning. And it's pretty interesting now. I mean, we did it because we've grown. The pandemic actually helped our industry to such an extent that we needed to go from 120,000 to 240,000 warehouse square feet. Now we're going to build a store in there. and it'll bring everyone together at a time when we're not sure whether we're going to bring everyone together, because because we want to keep a hybrid model. Certainly, in Massachusetts, where the traffic is so bad, we want people to, especially on Mondays and Fridays, to work from home, but we need that collaboration. So what seemed like a good idea 3 years ago is still a good idea from a package handling perspective. From a let's get everyone together, it may not be what it once was, but at least we'll get a store out of it. So
right. And so obviously you're collecting a lot of data about your customers' purchasing patterns and so forth. Are you doing anything that you feel like is custom to your organization as far as analytics go, or are you just kind of using the built-in analytics that might be in the particular ERP that or WMS you might be using?
Well, we use HubSpot. It's really this is a conversation we have all the time. Now, let's just say I was, instead of Yale Appliances, I was a Yale supermarket. Well, your data becomes crucial to me. It's like, why didn't he buy mayonnaise? How can we get him to buy mayonnaise? How can we get him to buy more mayonnaise? And maybe we'll get him to buy ketchup and relish, and he makes his own Russian dressing. With appliances, it's a once every 5 to 10 year. It's once every 5 to 10 year purchase. Maybe 15, maybe 5, depending on what luck you've had on your appliance. So the way we use data is certainly on the front end more, where I'm trying to acquire you as a customer. And for that, we use, I think, a lot more in terms of content, and content in terms of video, in terms of blogging. We have probably about 120,000 subscribers on all our channels, from video to our blog, to Instagram, TikTok, and whatever else we do. It's about us attracting. Now, on the other side, once you become a customer, it's more about, okay, how do you maintain it, right? How do you use it and all that? It's more like post-purchase. But it's not like I'm going to get you to say, okay, you bought an induction range. Well, I need you to buy the next induction range. Or it's not like a car where you're leasing it and turning it in. So the way we use analytics is more like on the acquisition side. Then you become a customer, and then it becomes the maintenance, how to become a more happier customer. So you tell maybe your friends and relatives, and we get a better share of better referrals. And obviously in real time too, we talk about, I'm sure we'll get into AI because that's on everybody's mind, but we do, we send a tracker where, we don't want people there. When I first started, you had to be there the whole day for delivery. And then it was half a day, and then it was 2 hours. Now what we've done is we use routing software powered with AI, and then we let you to log in with your invoice into the system where you can see our truck come to your house. You only have to be there for the 5 minutes that we need you there, rather than the whole day, half day, 2 hours that we used to do.
Right. Boy, that was always so frustrating to have to be able to schedule out half a day. And, in the organizations that are still doing that today, and, I have done some business with a few lately that, that's still their model. How frustrating that is, especially, for those that are not working at home, they're in the office and that sort of thing. It becomes quite the hassle to try to arrange for that.
Yeah, I think people, more people are working at home. So we were thinking about going to Sunday deliveries. You don't have to do that because they're home most. You have the other side of, work from home where people are home. So it's not as an inconvenience, but it is an inconvenience if you show up during a soccer game, right? So we want to it's so funny because everybody's scraping of everybody's websites, right? So everybody knows what the prices are. The products don't change. So what it becomes is, can you use technology to leverage the experience of that better than the next person? Where instead of saying you had to be there a whole day, half day, can you be there for 5 minutes? And what is your time worth? and that becomes part of your marketing. Good marketing is not good unless it comes from better operations. And I think using technology and AI and all that certainly plays into that, just not the way people think it is, at least not now.
Right. Oh, excellent points. Yeah. So that's the reason we built this podcast, is so we could share those kinds of insights with the different business owners here. And so I'm sure that you just tapped onto something that a number of folks will be looking at, and how they can improve their operations as well. So we appreciate you doing that. I know we're learning a lot here. So have you run into anything that you felt like that where the new technology was a negative, something that you just, when you look back, you say, man, I wish we hadn't gone down that path, or even that the technology hadn't gone down that path? Either way.
I think that really what it comes down to is to build anything scalable, you got to start small. And we've done that over the last few years, whereby we don't go out there with trying to hit a grand slam or come up with a whole new program. Is you start with like a hypothesis. Would this work? Right. And then you start small, right? You build a team around it and you start small, and then you build from there. I think anything that you're trying to if you're trying to eat the proverbial elephant, very hard. So it's, one bite at a time. I would say that if we were to say what's disappointing, I mean, everyone is using ChatGPT as they should, but it can't create, right? So if you're looking to do social media or blogs or podcasts like you're doing at scale, using that without any kind of human intervention, even with proper prompt engineering, you're going to be very disappointed, and it's going to come across really badly, where it will be a negative. Now, anything that I've done in 37 years at Yale, where I've started with a grandiose plan, whether it's technology, human resources, or anything, it really hasn't gone all that well. But when you start, and listen, I mean, I could lie to you and say everything I've done has been great, but we both know that's not the case. I think
we all learn and grow, right? I mean, hopefully you're growing. I mean, it's okay to make the failures, in my opinion, and to have those, times when you look back and go, okay, I need to learn from that. But that's the key, is learning from it, right?
Yeah. I think I've had more misses than hits, but the hits have been good. And really what we've done, and we're doing it actually this weekend, is, we're going to NRF, which is the National Retail Federation, where the really smart, the Apples and the Walmarts and Tractor Supply Company and StockX with sneakers, where you see different things. I mean, I haven't gone since 2019. Last year I got COVID like a day before, and then they had COVID the years previously, and they were talking about drone delivery in 2019 and executing it. I think it was JD.com in China, opening stores with eye scans and stuff like that. I mean, really opens your eyes. But we've gotten some really good ideas that we've been able to implement in our business from going and seeing much smarter people than ourselves execute something on a much grander scale.
Well, if you can learn from someone else's experience, it will save you a lot of time and normally a lot of heartache as well. So that's just really good advice. So I'm curious. I mean, so I'm not an appliance guy, but how far has Appliances gotten as far as collecting and sharing like IoT data or other data that you may use for services? I'm thinking mostly about as I understand it, you also service appliances. So is that something that has come to fruition the way that it was kind of marketed to us several years back, or is that still something that is on the horizon?
It's something on the horizon, and what would be really interesting that would change our industry, and two companies have been talking about it for a long time, is let's say your refrigerator goes down, right? Where the refrigerator can diagnose itself, send the part to a servicer, that being me, and me showing up at your door with a minimum of time wasted. That would change the industry. Now, LG says they have smart diagnosis. G's been working on it. It hasn't happened. And they said it should happen. Now, a lot of the smart technology in appliances has to do with functionality. And I think that's kind of a mistake. Now, Gen Airs, their smart philosophy 6 years ago was, you're going to tell your wall oven to cook lasagna. It's going to know how you want that lasagna cooked. It'll scan for the ingredients in the refrigerator, and it will send out on DoorDash to get those ingredients and then set the dishwasher up. If they said it today, they'd be just about as far along today as they did then. But I think the whole service aspect is intriguing. And I don't see why it can't happen, except for a couple things. There's not too many service places left. Almost appliances, except in the very high end, are almost throwaways now. But I think that's where I really think that's where the industry should be headed. Now, we're a backwards industry as an industry. I mean, if we were in high tech, we would have been run over years ago, right? We get all this interesting stuff. Some of the smart functionality, being able to see the food, from a camera on your app, interesting. Being able to start and stop your oven from your home, interesting. But not to such a degree whereby you would pay extra or you would go out of your way to buy it versus what you already have.
I've looked through some case studies that were done on Toyota. So Toyota started an initiative a few years back to improve the quality of their vehicles and to get ahead of the maintenance curve. So they were collecting IoT data from their vehicles, and they could spot that a particular part was going to fail, but across the overall fleet that they had out there. So they would know, we need to ramp up on this part, or we need to get this part out to our dealers and service folks so that they have it on hand as these vehicles come in. And so I was very intrigued by that. And, it sounds like, man, what a opportunity for some of these appliance manufacturers to get to that point, where they can get out on the leading edge of those kind of issues and improve the quality and improve the support that you as a service provider can do.
Car dealers operate on NPS, right? They operate on a net promoter score. You want to frighten your car dealer, tell them you're not giving them a 9 or a 10. It's the surest way to get their attention, right? Appliances aren't like that. Now, your podcast is about high tech, future. How do you do things better with less? That's really the promise of good technology. Unfortunately, right, where high tech meets low tech often wins, right? Where if you take a look, if we go back to when I went to high school, in Needham, Mass, we had an auto shop, we had a wood shop, we had kind of like trades, for people that didn't want to do the traditional route, right? That's all gone away. I don't know if any local schools are doing it anymore, but there's no local appliance school. You talk to, I read a book just the other day. It was actual Arnold Schwarzenegger's How to Be Useful book, right? He was talking back being the governor of California saying, tradespeople, electricians, plumbers, when you call your plumber and he says 2 weeks, you're going to kiss him, right? So all this high tech stuff works until you realize there aren't any people out there to fix it. And that's the real problem, right? And I think technology can solve that problem by saying, here's the part. We're going to put it in your hands. Here's how to do it. But you just need someone to be able to do it. Or you need to use technology to rethink your product so everybody can do it, which won't happen.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, at some point, kind of to your point, high tech has to meet low tech. I mean, someone has to be there at some point to execute, in most cases anyway. Um, yeah. So, but anyway, that would be an interesting improvement, I think, on your business to kind of see something like that come about. But absolutely, challenges in the market out there as far as recruitment and getting the right folks in place to be able to do things in a timely and professional manner, right? So, I mean, if you wait for those 2 weeks for that plumber to show up, and then the plumber comes in and is not professional, doesn't know what the heck they're doing, uh, that becomes very, very frustrating. So it takes both.
Going back to our warehouse, we have a guy. His name is I call him Mr. Thrasher. His name is George Thrasher. Right? You go in his van. He's got the hammers going in descending order. Right? You could eat off the bottom of his van. Right? Everything he does, we've had him in all our. We've opened up. This will be our fourth store recently, plus the warehouse. Right? Do you know what the plumbing bills are? I don't even look, but it's done right, right? Because this is the type of guy, but he's a dying breed. Dying breed. He can't find anybody that will do what he does, right? Of not being, just being that exacting with the art.
Well, and there is something about taking pride in what you do, and that's true with the trades, very much so. I started as a welder, so I hear you. Been there, done that. But that's also true in the tech industry as well. So, we are challenged in that in some of the folks that try to come into this industry, they think it's just all easy peasy and they can just work off the cuff and not have their ducks in a row, and that just that'll cost the company that's using that tech person. It'll cost me as a consulting company that's sending that tech person out. And those, but fortunately, those people get weeded out fairly quickly, especially in this industry. Word gets around.
Yeah, well, it's harder in the trades only because there aren't as many people anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We were all kind of like told that we had to go to a 4-year school, but interesting. So welder into high tech.
Yeah. Well, so I started out in oil pipelines and then went to Department of Defense and started programming automated welding systems in the late 80s. So long story there. We don't have enough time for it here, but that's how I got into computers, was programming automated welding systems. So what about your, do you have a large IT department or to help support your systems and so forth? Do you mind sharing ballpark how many folks you have?
The director of operations, I'm the CEO of the company. I have 2 direct reports, one in sales and one in ops. And the director of ops was initially our computer guy. I mean, he was hired to maintain the computer infrastructure, and he came from an IT background. And we just hired somebody else the other day, 6 people under him. For a company, we have 6, which doesn't seem like a lot. 7 people plus, one of the decision makers in IT. We have a director of IT as well. We have someone who stepped down but has not retired, so that would be a half. So it's about 7.5 people protecting the infrastructure and building it out at the same time. Because again, all this stuff's good until it all goes down and you get a letter from someplace in Russia saying, we have your stuff, right?
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah, no doubt.
so yeah, but so it's really important to us, that we
So
don't
do
keep.
you, go ahead.
Yeah, we don't keep people's sensitive information on the system. We have it on a server
Hmm.
outside our system in somebody else, a server farm somewhere else.
Good. Yeah. Um, and are most of your solutions or even all your solutions off the shelf kind of solutions, or do you do a lot of custom development inside your environment?
Um, well, in our ERP system, they have out of the box that they continue to develop, and we've been with them for almost 15 years, right? So they're developing, and then we develop custom solutions as well. And one of the things when we go to NRF and we go to different seminars and everything, we look actively, what are our needs? Who are the solutions for those needs? That's kind of the way we operate. What do we need, and how do we get those needs? Whether it's marketing, which falls under me really, and our director of marketing, sales, and IT operations. Sales uses HubSpot. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Um, and that's the problem is as we build out these systems, right? It's always like we're building, and then we got to bring them all together, and then we go back out and go bring back just it's like a figure eight almost, and okay, now everybody's going to talk to each other. This one's got this cool toy here. This one's good, but they're not talking to each other. Then you got to build something in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, it definitely is. And, yeah, building those in such a way that they're secure and that they provide the expected uh, benefit is often a challenge, and that you don't build yourself a maintenance nightmare that's going to cost you a fortune. So, all right, well, awesome. Well, Steve, any parting words for our business folks here that that you have for them as we start running out of time here?
What's really funny is this. We've talked as much about low tech as high tech. I'm surprised we didn't talk about Chat GPT. And it's so funny. I was listening to a podcast, and there's a quote that says like that when they invented the ship, they invented the shipwreck, right? So if you're scrubbing, AI is scrubbing past stuff, but if you've got garbage, the if the stuff that you have in behind isn't good, your future output isn't going to be good either. So I'd be really careful, when you start a new project to make sure that you button down everything in the past so you get good future results. So
Yeah, I mean, just kind of so. I mean, I agree with you 100%. You and I are on the same page there. Um, I mean, we see a lot of promise with AI. Being a technical guy, but there are some challenges too. And one of those challenges that I've been talking about is the fact that, to your point, the data that the AI learning models is running over, for the most part, is public internet data. Um, and that can be skewed. I mean, there are certain parts of our culture, certain segments of the world, for that matter, that are not necessarily participating in the internet, not necessarily providing information openly and freely. So that's going to skew what AI learns. And so I think we have to be very careful about that. We have to be very careful about what kind of judgment calls we allow for AI to make. And to your point, a lot of caution, a lot of caution should be taken before you automate a business process that runs unattended, and is, especially if it's customer facing. Oh my Lord, customer facing automation like that. Wow, anybody that's been in IT very long can tell you that that is recipe for disaster, at least until it gets refined and nailed down a little bit better. So a lot of caution there for folks trying to use ChatGPT or other AI kind of mechanisms. I think you're spot on with that.
I think for people that aren't into ChatGPT or scared to, at least have fun with it. There's I've worked with some of these people, for 30 years, and so you have your memo, right? But you do ChatGPT and you send it out as like Darth Vader or the Joker or Liam Neeson, how disappointed you are, and put it in there. It can be kind of fun. But the good thing about AI is you put in the stuff, lead nurturing is something that used to take me hours. You put it in, tell them what you want, tell me your tonality. Listen, if you're in marketing, you could be David Ogilvy if you wanted to, but just saying, write it as David Ogilvy, or you could do it as Clive Christensen or anybody else, and get their slant on it and just edit it from there. So there's a lot of potential, a lot of possibility, and a fair amount of danger as well.
I mean, I'm always a big opponent of folks jumping out, trying things, learning things. And, some of the things you're talking about, just kind of having fun with it, learning it. This is a great time to be doing that. There's a lot of free offerings that are out there right now to be able to do that on a low budget kind of way, not go, sell the farm sort of thing. So yeah, that's just great advice. Appreciate you offering that up.
Unless New York Times wins their lawsuit, then it's going to be a totally different game, totally different ball game.
Yeah, I did see that. That's very interesting. That's I kind of get it. On one hand, they put it out there to the public, but that's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. And you're right, that could be a game changer.
For the whole internet too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not if you create your own original content. Create your own original content, right. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
But depend on others.
Well, we recently seen that out of Harvard, right, where the plagiarism issues abound. So we want to be careful and not get into that scenario too. Hey, I thank you a lot. We're running out of time here, but I really thank you a lot for jumping in and doing this. I can tell you and I could carry on here for some time. Really appreciate your conversation and your insight. And by the way, congratulations for so many years with Yale Appliance, and to your family to bring that through all of the ups and downs. That's quite the accomplishment. So hats off to you for that. And we appreciate you, and thanks for joining us. So, Steve, just before we jump off here, how can our audience stay in touch with you, or at least follow those things that you're doing?
Sure. It's funny you should say that. I'm not on LinkedIn. I'm not on LinkedIn. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook anymore. You reach me. Certainly I answer on LinkedIn. We all our content goes on our blog and on our YouTube channel. We answer comments from anybody as well. So if you're interested in knowing about appliances, it's probably the best, and you can reach me personally on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so folks, be sure and follow Steve. Check him out there on LinkedIn. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, so you can learn about all the new things that are coming up here. We've got some great folks coming on here in the near future. And so be sure and check in with Steve. Steve, we thank you. Everyone else, have a great time.